talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits.
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary Dog.
Pearson and Blurnsball.
Futurama.
Happy New Year, as Peter Venkman once said. This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, we are reviewing Part 1 of Season 5, Fuller House. Brought to you by the good people at Jeff Franklin Productions, Miller Boyette Productions, Warner Horizon Television, and ye olde Netflix. Joining me to continue our discussions of this wonderful family show, Fuller House, is the one and only punchy pugilist, Pat Mullin. How do you do, sir?
If there's one thing I do, it's sitcoms.
Yes, indeed. But not the new One Day at a Time. We both agree that was hot garbage, and it's already been canceled. I think it lasted maybe 2 or 3 seasons, and Netflix finally pulled the plug on it.
Yeah, the wokeness kind of a little overpowering there.
Yes, indeedy. But this reboot, soft reboot from the TGIF era, we have enjoyed, and we are seeing it through to the end, the bitter end. They opted to do an 18-episode season to cap off Fuller House, and they dropped the first 9 episodes on December 6, 2019, which we were led to believe was going to be it. Like, you know, I said Season 5 is it, that's the last one, and they fooled us, Pat. Let's start there. They fooled us. I know I'm starting at the end here, but they built up this Kimmy getting engaged, re-engaged, thrice engaged to what's his name? Fernando, yes. And boom, swerve, bruh.
Swerve, bro.
It was really an engagement between DJ and Steve. Oh my God! Now, all season long they had been talking about Stephanie getting engaged, and Kimmy was already engaged, but their engagement has been so long they had to renew it. But this was the big one, because they had talked all season about, oh, well, will they, won't they? Do they have to get married? Are things just fine the way they are? Maybe. And then, bam! Triple engagement, triple wedding, to be continued. I don't even know what to say. What do you think?
I loved it. I really enjoyed that turn of events, because we haven't really seen DJ as the focal point of the major overarching storyline since she had to make her choice between Matt and Steve a couple seasons ago. And ever since then, it was, more about, her kind of being the den mother to kind of try to help everybody else with their overarching plots. And she was put on the back burner. And we thought that's what was continuing. And it's kind of almost like, well, okay, I guess this is fine. Her and Steve are doing okay. They don't need to do anything. And, you're curious how they're going to wrap that up. And then, boom, flash mob.
I have to say, I enjoyed the flash mob dance number and the misdirect leading to DJ's engagement. I thought that was a really, really fun way to cap off the first 9 episodes. And I'm going to assume this second 9 episodes is going to finally conclude with their triple wedding. But, I guess over the course of 9 episodes, there'll be episodes kind of, just kind of building up to it, and finally, boom, series finale, wedding, love, wonderfulness, and then we're out. Or maybe not. Who knows? This is 2020, the year of undermining expectations, subverting expectations is what the kids talk about these days. So you never know where this is going. But that seems to be the direction.
San Quentin, so Aunt Becky can join in.
There you go. Maybe she'll be out in enough time to join them. What a shit show that was. All right. With that being said, let's talk about the rest of the season, because the last season dealt with Stephanie and Kimmy carrying Stephanie's child. She was like the surrogate mother, and at in the season finale, she gave birth. And we open up with "Welcome Home, Baby to be Named Later." And this was really about Stephanie, sort of tackling motherhood. And I don't know how you felt about it, or if there was a way that you could relate to the episode, but having that first child and not really knowing what to do with the baby, the obvious is obvious. Baby is dirty, change diaper. Baby presents as hungry, it's crying, feed baby. The rest of the time, the baby is sleeping, and when it's awake, you're like, what do I do with this thing? I know I came home from work one day, and my wife was like, yep, got feeding down, got changing down, got napping down. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. And it's a very real thing to struggle with having a baby for the first time in the home, and that's what the episode was about. What did you think of "Welcome Home, Baby to be Named Later"?
So, having never had to deal with like infants, which is hopefully a trend that continues for the rest of my life, this reinforced the fact that I never want to do that.
Can you? And I don't need to get too personal with you, but I am curious. What makes you say that?
Oh God, I just don't want children.
I picked that up. I guess what I'm saying is, what was happening in this episode? You were like, that right there. That's the reason.
Oh well, all of it, man. Do I want to? First of all, there's the changing and the feeding thing. Like, I'm a pet guy. That's okay. Infants, it's like a whole other thing. It's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that. And then on top of that, there's just long periods of time, like you said, where they're unoccupied by feeding or changing, and it's like, what the hell do I do with them?
Right.
And then you have the long term things where it's like, well, if I play Wu-Tang in the background, are they going to grow up to be angry and all that stupid crap that goes along with it? Am I supposed to play classical music and then they'll turn into some kind of prodigy, or all the dumb crap like that. Not to mention the likelihood that I'd have to deal with this with another person.
Sure.
And not for me. I'll stick with having a cat.
I can certainly sympathize with that last part. Dealing with another person and a little person, it's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of balancing. Here's what I'll tell you. I used to work out when I was taking care of my infant daughter after she was born, and I kept the music the same as I always listened to when I worked out. I played heavy metal, and she's almost 9 years old, and she's everybody's friend. She's the least angriest person I've ever met in my life, and all she listened to in the first formative years of her life were the the lullaby versions of rock. I don't know if you know what these are. But they made lullaby versions of like famous modern music. So there's like lullaby of Metallica, lullaby of Led Zeppelin, lullaby of the Ramones, and whatever I was listening to when I worked out, and doesn't seem to have had a negative effect as near as I can tell. So you're safe there. But yes, so Stephanie hires a doula to kind of handle things. Yes.
I thought doulas were basically midwives.
They are, but this show lives in exaggeration. So they give the doula a lot.
I was gonna say, literally, I only thought the doula was there to guide you through the birthing, and that's it.
So that's my understanding. This one, they call her a doula, but they seem to be using her more as like a nanny, and she's there for some fun gags. But the whole thing was really about just Stephanie, who had been a party DJ and kind of a free spirit, and all of that, trying to figure out, well, now how do I still be me, but also take care of this kid? So it was a fun episode to sort of transition in. They came up with, she ends up talking to her dad, and they decided that's who they're going to name the baby after. They also figured out that they also gave the child, I think, a middle name that starts with J. So it's Daniel Joe, so they can call her DJ. Huh? What'd you think of that, Pat?
Fitting tribute, tying things up in a neat little bow again with, Kimmy being the godmother. How do we involve DJ? Let's name it after DJ since, we live in the house rent-free and she basically fixes everything for us and is kind of telling us how to do things correctly as opposed to, duelist Stalin.
The other quick plot point I wanted to discuss in this first episode was, Andrea Barber is hysterical, and we've sung her praises for every show we've done on Fuller House, and she continues to be hilarious. This one, she's like, hey, I don't have a baby anymore. So she's like throwing herself down the stairs, and she's rollerblading, and she's killing poor Fernando. I never thought I would enjoy Fernando and her together as like a comedy duo as much as I did this season. They are so funny together. And I got a kick out of Andrea Barber doing, like,
Jackass?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the actress's name, the heavyset actress who was in Ghostbusters and,
Melissa McNaughton.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy. She's kind of doing that Melissa McCarthy, physical pratfall comedy, but doing it a lot better and a lot more funnier. I got a kick out of it.
I loved it. They finally kind of... Fernando always, even in the last season when things were fine, had more of an adversarial relationship with a lot of the cast to the point where it was annoying and undercutting the stuff that he did that was good. They've finally kind of given up on that and let him just kind of have fun and shine a little bit. Whereas, like, some of the best moments from the past couple years are him and Kimmy together doing things. It's just it was weighed down always until they get to this year and kind of take the chains off and let it just ride. And I enjoyed them heavily this year.
Yeah, I think when they imagined the show, they thought, well, obviously the main three women will be some degree of a focus, but I think the kids will rise up and people will take to the kids. And it's like, nope. You never know which character is going to take up. I think people have fallen in love with Fernando and think he's hilarious, and so I think this season they just sort of leaned into that and he's a main part of the cast. He's fine. Let's give him more, and let's give him, and let's not focus on he's the annoying neighbor kind of a trope, but just he's part of the cast. Let's give him stuff, and it works. And I never really got tired of him. He never got to the level of being super annoying. The second episode, Hale's Kitchen. This is one where it's one where they kind of slow things down. Now after the big rush of the baby is home and dealing with all of that and kind of setting things up for this final season, this is one of those episodes, and they do this almost with every season, where this is okay. Let's let some of the air out of the room. Let's kind of do some more character-focused episodes. Let's introduce some stuff. So this is where we're introduced to Ethan, who is a Postmates delivery boy, and of course Ramona falls head over heels for him, and so there's a whole thing with him and her family, which they'll deal with later on. And then there's the main thrust of the episode, which is DJ and Steve in a cooking class, and it's kind of just something for them to do in the episode, I think. I don't know how much it really... it plays into the story of will they, won't they get married? Where's this relationship going? But it's kind of meh. And then finally, you have the bit with Max and Stephanie, who, because Stephanie's busy with the baby, she forgets to take him to the Renaissance Festival, and there's a whole thing they do at the end to kind of make up for that. So Hale's Kitchen. Your thoughts, sir?
The Steve stuff I thought was actually kind of funny, giving him just this extra dimension where if you had watched the show in previous years, and even somewhat in these years, you know that Steve's big passion besides DJ is food.
Sure.
The dude is just a human garbage disposal. So why wouldn't he have taken cooking classes, especially knowing he was divorced at some point, to learn how to do these things for himself, and then to find out like he's fluent in it and amazing. It was funny. They had in that same plot of the episode, not John Cleese playing the chef. And this actor, he's in like tons of TV shows and stuff. I don't know his name. My mission is at some point to find out his name, because I essentially refer to him as not John Cleese.
Yeah, right. He does bear a striking resemblance to John Cleese.
Yeah, like we can't get John Cleese. Get this guy.
Right.
And then Mindy Sterling is one of the couple that they have to battle with. She is always hilarious, no matter the role she's in. And you know, I have a soft spot for her going back to Austin Powers. So.
Episode 3. So.
Oh, and also, I've never used Postmates.
See, I have. That's the one I actually focus on. It tends to be cheaper than the other ones. Tends. The other side of it is they've also messed up my order. I feel like they all mess up the orders, though. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I feel like almost every one of these places, there's always, they're batting 50-50. Half the time, everything that you ordered is there. Half the time, they forget something. And then, like, I had one issue with Postmates where they completely fucked up my order, and they were like, well, sorry. we'll try to do better next time.
See, that would have been it for me. That would have been no next time by Postmates.
Yeah, I don't think I've ordered for them since. So, up to this point, they, Stephanie's fiance, he was a traveling photographer. They sort of made up an excuse for him to not be around when they didn't need him, and then bring him back in when they had something for him. And now they've got this baby, and they're trying to do more with Jimmy as well, because they realize Jimmy is also a hunky and popular character. So they're like, well, we need him to be around. We need Fernando to be around. We need a reason for these guys to be in episodes. We can't just keep sending them away somewhere. And what they came up with was, well, what if him and Fernando ran the sandwich, ran the deli?
This
the
annoyed
shop.
me a little bit.
Okay, tell me why it annoys you.
You know, they talked about, Uncle Monty's so great. Blah, blah, blah. We've literally not heard a word about Uncle Monty's over the past 4 years that this show has been running. I hate when they introduce something like that, where it's very obviously going to play into the episode or longer, as if it's been there the whole time.
I feel like they did bring up Uncle Monty's previously, that occasionally it's not a major plot point or anything, but I feel like on the occasion that they address like local food or whatever, it has come out. Okay, you have a better memory for this sort of thing than I have. So if you're telling me they never brought it up, I'll believe you, but I thought I remembered them bringing this up. So they just wholesale invented what's supposed to be a fairly intrinsic part of their lives, and they were like, yeah, it's a thing. It's always been a thing. That's essentially your biggest issue?
Yep.
All right. Well, like I said, essentially this whole episode is just them dealing with getting Fernando and Jimmy involved with this store so that they're around for future episodes. There's really not much more to it than that. I think, is this the one where... No, the grand opening is 2 episodes later. So this is just the one where they just decide they're going to do it, and it's more about Jimmy being there for Stephanie and the baby than anything else. And I think the other side of this is Fernando doesn't know what to do with himself now that he's retired and no longer gallivanting around the world.
He's out of the racing circuit.
Right. Anything else about this episode? Because that's really all that gets... I mean, there's the thing with Max and jumping off the high dive, but if I hadn't been reading the Wikipedia summary, I don't even think I would have remembered it.
Well, there's Steve's involvement, and a lot of this season, I won't say a lot, but at least the past 2 episodes, they really deal with DJ kind of underestimating Steve as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, she finds out, like, no, he went through the books. He looked at this. He did these things when opening this business. And she just comes away, like, impressed. And I think, on one hand, it's almost like kind of justifying why they haven't married them off already, despite the history.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that Steve was kind of a goofy character, and I think they go a long way in ungoofying him in season 5. To where at the end you're like, yes, this is who you should have been with all along, and he's perfect. And in a lot of ways, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel by the time we get to a modest proposal, they've almost overdone it. Like, he's too perfect. They never fight, these two. He never fucks up. Everything he does, even if it's seemingly like not the greatest thing, always turns out great. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that, and I don't know if that helps his character at all. So, the jury's still out. I don't know. Maybe you see it differently.
I mean, if we were watching Melrose Place, I'd get it. But, you know, we're watching Fuller House, and it's the put a bow on it season. Sure.
Like I said, I have to see the second half of the season to see if, now that they've built him up, if he falls at all, or if he just can, or if he stays the same, or if he even gets even more perfect. I don't know. How do you get more perfect than what he pulls off in a modest proposal? I'll never know. Speaking of trying to resolve things and tie things up in a bow, Mom's Night Out.
My favorite episode of the season.
Yeah. I don't know if it was my favorite, but it was definitely one of the ones I really enjoyed. What I liked about this one is, so you have the reintroduction of Matt and Gia and Rocky, as it were. And Gia ends up going out with the gals because she never really got a bridal shower or whatever. So kind of impromptu throwing her one because they were going out anyway. Matt ends up hanging out at the house, and a lot of this episode revolves around Matt wanting to bond with Rocky, and Rocky's like, you're like the 8th stepdad I've had. I'll pass, thanks. And the family, who's in the house, trying to help Matt, find that fine line to where he can relate to Rocky, but he's not overdoing it. And remember, he's dealing with a teenage girl who's going to have her own moody stuff going on. I liked Matt a lot in this episode. They also tend to really make him goofy at times, and I thought the actor who plays him did a really good job of making him vulnerable without overdoing it. And I actually like when they finally resolved the issue with him and Rocky. I thought it came very naturally, and it worked for me on screen.
Yeah, John Brotherton was great. And again, it's taking some of the characters who are relegated to like second fiddle status and filling them out a little more after what we've been used to seeing from them. Whereas, and one of my favorite parts is when he's trying to talk to Steve, like, how do you and Max have this bond? He's like, you just got to find something for us. We found this bloodthirsty, violent, crazy thing that we both enjoy watching. And Matt's like, UFC? He goes, no, Real Housewives.
Da-da-da-da-da.
But and it's something simple and goofy, and maybe that's because I relate to that, because I actually became really good friends with a coworker at one point, because we both kind of just wound up watching Real Housewives in New Jersey.
Of all the Real Housewives, that's the one you guys related to and enjoyed?
I wouldn't say we related to it, but it's just that's the one we found ourselves watching and, just couldn't turn it off.
Ugh. What about the Real Housewives of Atlanta? Come on, that's so much better.
I'm not a Nene Leakes fan. I saw her on one of the editions of Celebrity Apprentice, and I was like, no, don't really need to see her in anything else ever.
I watched a few episodes of The Real Housewives of New Jersey because I think my wife was into The Real Housewives show at one point. These women are like every Italian mom I ever grew up with, without the money. And in some cases with, but mostly without. Ugh, it just drove me right up the wall. I don't want to watch that on TV. I got enough of it in my real life growing up. You know what I'm talking about, Pat?
I do. The first 2 seasons are really fun. It trails off pretty heavy after that, but the first 2 seasons were very joyful.
So the other great thing about this, and look, you're not watching Fuller House if you can't take some of the goofy, over-the-top stuff they do. And the occasional dance number that pops out, you know, when they go full-on musical at times. Again, that is a staple of the show. I think you've said in the original run, music and the occasional dance number were staples of the original series. And so in this one, where the two... and I thought this was very funny. You know, Fuller House is not where you go to make fun of a lot of topical stuff, but occasionally they get a gag in there or two. And this one... Sorry, everybody. They lost like their cabaret license or whatever, and there's no dancing anymore. And I forget the gag was that caused it, but they can't dance, and so it just looks like a shitty bar. And the two guys walk in, and
Maxim and Val from Dancing with the Stars, who were at this club in the first season when they had Girls' Night Out.
Right, I knew I remembered them from somewhere. And so, of course, they say, screw it, and they start dancing anyway, and it ends up being great. But the best part of this, and it was such a funny mug-to-the-camera moment, which I thought was hilarious, was when Fernando shows up. And he just like, all right, we can party. Fernando is here. They frame him up. He is dead center on the camera, and he could not be happier. He's so great. You know, it's such a funny moment in the show. And then the best is the other guys are like, oh, we hate Fernando. It's like, no. He's back together with Kimmy. It's fine now. We love Fernando. Let's dance. It's great.
Immediate switch on a dime. It was just fantastic.
Hey, sorry about that, everybody. Having a little bit of trouble today, but I'm going to try to get through the rest of the show here without me having a full-on coughing fit. All right, moving on. So, yeah, Mom's Night Out, that whole bit with Fernando, you were starting to say that was hilarious to you, too.
Yeah, and I think with Val and Maxim coming back in as the guest stars, kind of bringing that back around was a pretty neat little touch. And to see where they stood with Gia, whereas finally, like, okay, well, she's married to Matt now, you're going to have to put up with her. Just getting past the whole, hey, I've hated you since you were 14 years old thing.
Right. It was one of those loose threads that they were like, we need a way to resolve this because we don't want to leave this out there. And we need we need more for these characters to do. So... and evolve. So I thought that was pretty good. This next one, directed by Dave Coulier, as a matter of fact. Ready Player Fuller. So, I'm trying to remember the kid's name. Jackson. Jackson hasn't had a tremendous amount to do. I mean, he gets lines here or there. He's sort of in the background for a lot of this, but this was his episode. It was like we got to give him at least one episode where he gets to do stuff. So this one, he, being a teenage boy and feeling like he is sort of the ugly duckling compared to his brother, he's having some issues, and he doesn't necessarily want to talk about it with DJ until they end up bonding through Rocket League, which he's playing on the Switch, and she's playing anonymously and coming up with a new name for herself. She calls herself Tomb Buggy, which I thought was funny. And that's where she learns about these things. Of course, then he finds out about it, and there's some trouble there, but they resolve it pretty, like, within the same scene. They resolve the deception pretty quickly, and, you know, it really becomes more about, like, I'm always afraid of disappointing you because I'm not as good as Max. So that's the A plot. The B plot deals with the opening of the sandwich store, but we'll get to that in a second. So what did you think of this episode with DJ and Jackson?
I beg to ask the question. As a parent, Mark, would you ever do something like this?
No.
Really?
I'm very direct with my kids. I don't think trying to deceive your kids outside of, you know, the Santa Claus deception is really healthy. And I think that's the point of the episode to a degree, is that, you know, DJ doesn't know how else to reach her son, so she chooses deception, but how are they not saying this was a bad choice when it blows up in her face? And Jackson kind of has to get through that and process it before they can get to a resolution.
Right, but they also try to teach you that, like, punishing your kids for making mistakes in the show isn't, you know, the right decision either, and we know it is.
Fair enough. I don't know. I feel like there might have been a better way to... You know, you have to ask yourself, and maybe I'm being too therapy about it, but how did Jackson and her get to a place where he felt uncomfortable talking to her in the first place?
He's a boy, she's a woman.
Fair enough. To that point, my daughter tells my wife stuff that she doesn't tell me, and my son's 5, so that's not an issue at the moment. So there's some truth there, but I don't know. Do you think hiding, taking on a secret identity and trying to communicate with your children deceptively is a viable solution?
If Chris Hansen has taught me anything, yes.
Good, Pat. Very good. What else did you think about this little interaction between the two of them?
It's a good character building moment because it's a real kind of parenting moment in that, especially when your kids turn to those ages when they're in high school, they are less and less open with you than ever.
Sure.
Fortunately, you're not there yet, but you know it's coming, and you're going to kind of have to be more not invasive into your children's lives.
Right.
But you're going to have to ask a lot more questions than you would normally to get certain answers you're going to want to get.
I think as a parent, you have to be open to hearing things you don't necessarily want to hear.
And I think they kind of already... They did that good job with that in terms of Kimmy and Ramona or Kimmy, Fernando and Ramona, I should say. Like when she goes out on her first date and stuff like that, where we didn't really have to deal with that with Jackson and DJ till now.
Yeah, and I think in the next episode, the next episode is the one with game night where where Ethan gets an up close look at what the Gibbler household is like. But I think you're right. I think it's a great character episode for Jackson. I think it's a great relationship episode for DJ and Jackson. I think it's your typical kind of sitcom deception causes conflict thing, and maybe that's why I'm not really seriously considering it, because like it feels like the sort of thing you only do in a television show. That real people don't act this way. I don't know. People break into each other's phones all the time, so what do I know?
No, come on. People, you think parents don't spy on their kids? Come on.
You're not wrong.
That's why they have them. That's why they give them cell phones so they can know where they are.
The other side of this was the re-grand opening of Uncle Monty's, which is, of course, a shit show. They can't get enough product. The prices are, it's like less than $1 per sandwich, so, of course, people are buying them by the dozen. All kinds of issues going on here. It's one of those where, it's a Jimmy episode, essentially, this B-plot. What's he going to do in the face of nothing but challenges and adversity? Is he going to crack, or is he going to succeed? And because this is Fuller House, of course, it all turns out with a fairy tale ending. people are giving away sandwiches. The food eventually does show up. It's a miracle on 34th Street, I tell you what. It was fine. I was entertained. There's some funny bits to it. Other than that, it was, as wholly unbelievable as this show can get at times.
Yeah, it went very sitcom very fast, but at the same time, at least it's something with Jimmy where, aside from him being like hunky idiot, it's like, oh my god, I have all these anxieties and real life problems because now I'm a dad and I'm going to be faced with these things. So they have to put him in that position where, well, here you go, let's see how you handle this. And it's not even that he does well with it, it's just that he will not give up.
Right.
He has this blind, stupid belief to not give up. And sometimes that's all you need.
No, I think it's admirable. Tenaciousness is an admirable quality in people, and I think, you hit upon something with the Jimmy character where up to this point, right, he's just dreamy, hunky idiot, and now they got him. And now, since he's a regular part of the cast, they actually got to give him a character. So this was a way of doing that. Okay, speaking of stupid episodes, oh boy. The Mayor's Bird. As if somebody in the writer's room was like, you know what we haven't done? We haven't done a Matt and DJ episode in a while. People loved Matt and DJ. I don't want to take that away from them just yet. So you get a Matt and DJ episode where they are playing with the Mayor's Bird. And there's some funny gags in all of this, but ultimately that's half of the episode was. But the real fun part of this episode was Gibbler Game Night. Because you have your point of view character in Ethan, who's never experienced it before. And essentially, the Gibbler family, when it comes to games, are like my son. Loves to play them, hates to lose. Likes to rage quit. So, upon losing each round of Gibbler Game Night, in turn, each Gibbler smashes the game and runs off in a corner. And does kind of a telenovela kind of a thing where it's just like, I hate you, I love you. It's all very overdramatic. It's so funny because, like I said, some of the best parts of Full House are the supporting cast. And, Andrea Barber, Fernando, even Ramona, who's always playing the embarrassed teenage girl in a lot of this when she isn't dancing. I thought, like, oh, good. They let her lean into her Gibblerness in this episode and really embrace it, if only momentarily. I'm like, this is fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where the three, like, Gibblers have, or whatever Fernando's last name is. There's like 14 of them. I can't keep up. But whatever the three of them are together, the chemistry is so natural. And then you introduce that foreign element to let them play off of besides each other. And you get some of the most entertaining stuff you can see in this season. And it's not even them playing into one particular role. It's in this one when they all turn off kind of the same personality trait at a certain point. It's really enjoyable.
I would not be surprised if somebody pitches a Gibbler spinoff. Because I don't know if they could hold it up for more than one season. But one season that totally focuses on them, I don't know. I think there's room for some real hilarity there. The Gibblers move to Houston or something. Or even... or even better, they move to like a really conservative town, and they're all like wacky people.
Well, I think we both initially thought the plan for this would have probably been, let's use the older characters to rope everybody in, and then we're gonna shift it and focus to the kids and build around that. And it was like, well, no, we're kind of gonna stay here because this is what people seem to want.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we talk about that a lot on Damn You Hollywood and in other TV parties about how, in fact, Jesse and I just discussed this relative to Fight Club. The artists, the people who are producing a show or a movie have a vision unless you're unless you're Lucasfilm under Disney, then you have no vision. But I digress. You have a vision, you have an idea, and you go ahead and you put that out there, and people glom onto one particular aspect of it, and they run off in another direction with it, and then that's all they want, and then you as the artist are like, I don't know what to do now because this isn't what I intended. This doesn't even, that's not what I wanted to do, but this is what people, but I gotta sell this show, and this is what people are into, which is why coming soon to Disney Plus, Baby Yoda, the series. Anyway. I don't know if you have any further comment on that, but, just my casual observations while watching this show. DJ's amazing birthday race. Oh, boy. This is one of those where you look at Steve and you think about yourself as a boyfriend or a husband or whatever, and you're like, well, I can never live up to this guy. He's fucking perfect. This also was... I don't necessarily get on the show's case for making the guys always look like dummies, because I think even though a few of them are written that way, they give them some pretty brilliant parts at times. They give them some fun stuff to do that kind of rehabilitates them from the dummy character that that's just there to be made fun of. But boy, this one, I don't know who wrote this, but this was definitely like, girls are great, boys are dumb. And the only thing that really undercuts that and says this was done by design was at the end when Steve says, this was DJ's birthday thing. You were never gonna win. Like, you had me there for a second, show. It's all fine now. The other part of this was everyone convincing DJ that this was gonna end in a proposal, which it doesn't, because swerve, bro. What'd you think of DJ's amazing birthday race?
Again, you have to give those levity episodes in here just to kind of have over-the-top fun. But I was shocked that they still underscored it with kind of trying to make things serious and really trying to give you that red herring that, oh yeah, proposal's not going to happen. She's just going to go on in her life. So they're not going to get divorced again. They're going to live happily ever after, like John Cena and Nikki Bella for 3 years. And
mark that spot on your bingo card, everybody.
Well, that's a reality TV show reference, not a wrestling reference.
Fair enough.
But
go ahead.
The fact that they still underscored it at the end, where like she didn't get a proposal, but like she's still like mock happy, like where even you don't believe that she's genuinely still okay at that point with everything as it's gone on, because her friends hyped her up and they're like, oh yeah, this is it. He's gonna ask. This is it. This is gonna be great. Blah,
I didn't know what I didn't know what I wanted until I didn't get it.
Exactly.
Were you okay with how they handled the gender disparity in the episode, even with that line at the end, you were never going to win, this wasn't for you?
Yeah. I think if anybody had issue with it, that line should have immediately, like, basically tied it up and been like, oh, okay.
Yeah, immediately takes the piss out of the why are guys always idiots in sitcoms argument. So this next one was actually directed by Candace Cameron Bure, which is, this was fun. Is this the one where... Yeah, this is the one with Kirk Cameron. I just got to stop there. Totally 80s Pat, Kirk Cameron, huh?
Oh, it was fantastic. Just totally, poking fun at himself for being a teen idol for all those years. They didn't acknowledge that he made an appearance in season 1 as cousin Steve, which was fine. But it was so much fun to just watch him kind of enjoy this role as himself, and then get to play into it a little bit, because he doesn't get gigs like this anymore, unfortunately. Part of that's his choice. Part of it's because he's been blackballed because he loves Jesus. These things happen. But like seeing the plot of Kimmy trying to feel out if she's still ready to be with Fernando and only Fernando, and go on these mystery dates or whatever. She has the one guy who's like a wanted white collar and gets picked up. It's just some of the other losers come in, but then you get Kirk, which is like her ultimate high school like crush, and to see that play out, which yeah, I couldn't stop laughing.
The line of the show, possibly the line of the entire season, goes to Kirk Cameron. I'm Kirk Cameron, for crying out loud, and then just stomps off. It's perfect. I had a good like laugh out loud moment with that, because she ultimately chooses Fernando over him. It was good stuff. The other star in this one, and this was part of a B plot, was Lisa Loeb, who apparently won a Grammy for her children's album. How about that, huh?
Did anyone know this?
So I mentioned it to my wife, and she's like, yeah, but like she knew of it, I guess, from whatever social media she follows. Apparently that bit of information somehow migrated into her social media circle. But yeah, she was aware. I had no idea. I didn't know Lisa Loeb was still a thing. I knew she was a thing in the 90s. She was a girl with an acoustic guitar. And I'll tell you the only reason why I even vaguely remember Lisa Loeb.
Pretty White Kids with Problems?
My daughter recently decided she wanted to play acoustic guitar, and my brain immediately went, let me introduce you to Lisa Loeb.
I remember her on Mad TV doing a parody of Dawson's Creek called Pretty White Kids with Problems. And then I remember she was on one episode of a very short-lived USA game show where she had to play Welcome to the Jungle on acoustic guitar, which was as terrible as you probably think it was.
Perfect.
And then I want to say her song was I Do.
Now, you say... maybe that is called I Do. You know, now I'm going to look.
I don't know. They're all crappy. In the
Stay, I Missed You. That's the name of the song.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
You say, looking hard, anywhere and anyone.
Yeah, and I was like Macy Gray. Okay, it makes sense to me that she would be playing a very small venue in San Francisco on a random night, because what else has she done?
Mm-hmm.
Since her song, but like Lisa Loeb, I was like, does anybody even... I don't even think she was popular with the Full House audience.
Yeah, well, she just won the Grammy last 2018. Wouldn't be last year anymore. So I think she's in people's minds. She was nominated for a Grammy for Stay, I Miss You and Firecracker. In 1994, she was nominated for Stay, I Missed You for an MTV Music Award, as prestigious as that is. A Billboard Music Award, and a Smash Hits Poll Winners Party. Don't know what that is. But she did win, for Best International Newcomer, a Brit Award. And she's won a BMI Pop Award for I Do. Oh, there you go, Pat. That is something that she did.
Okay.
I Do. Which came out in 1997 on the Firecracker album. How about that? She won Napa Awards in 2016 and 2017 for Nursery Rhyme Parade and Lullaby Girl. And then she won a Grammy for Feel What You Feel for Best Children's Album. So, she's on people's minds, apparently. She was just on AP Bio, as a matter of fact, in 2018. How about that? She was also on Community. In 2015, she was on Hell's Kitchen. Pat, she was in Hot Tub Time Machine as herself. 2.
See, there you lost me with the 2.
Moving on. So I don't know how they got her or why they got her, but they made use of her, and that's pretty much that plot. And then, again, trying to maintain balance and give all the characters sufficient enough stuff to do to keep coming back and doing this gig. They found something with the kids, and it was Ethan and Rocky have a mysterious past. What is their past, you ask? Why? They played Dungeons and Dragons. Dun, dun, dun. Kind of a weird way to go with a show in 2019 that when they're trying to figure out what mysterious thing they could get away with that would make them nerds, they came up with Dungeons and Dragons. Because I thought at this point, it was a more widely accepted, I guess it's still a nerd activity, but still, I don't know.
It 100% is.
Fair enough. Nope, I can't even argue against that. You're right, still a nerd activity. But one that carries such shame? Really?
I don't think it carries that level of shame. Aren't we supposed to have a game happening soon, thanks to Ronnie Adams?
I'm the only person that continually does podcasts when scheduled. That's all I can tell you.
Ronnie keeps telling me, "Oh, I got this." But so yes, advertising it now. We're going to play a campaign of D&D on the show.
Perfect.
But yeah, that was their biggest thing they could find to nerd shame them. That was at least still family friendly. I would have gone maybe something like they were square dancing competition partners, something like that. But they went with D&D, which is fine, based on the fact that Rocky's trying to be very rebellious and cool, and one dude delivers for Postmates. I don't know what that has to do with that.
I would have gone with theater nerds. We were in a community play of Oklahoma.
No, you're not allowed to shame them because the community theater group is largely made up of closeted dudes and girls who shouldn't be wearing clothes that are that tight.
Fair enough. All right.
At least that's what Nick Kroll tells me.
A modest proposal, Pat. Here we go. The great diversion. First, they're setting up Kimmy's crazy ultimate proposal, but Kimmy then fakes an injury. But we don't know that yet. So, it's all a convoluted path to a great big dance that ends in Steve finally proposing to DJ. And now, all three women are engaged to the men of their dreams, and we're headed 100 miles an hour to the grand season finale of Fuller House. A triple wedding in a steel Never mind.
Unless they throw a left hook at us and they start playing winger headed for a heartbreak.
Oh, no! Gosh, could you imagine? It all ends in tragedy. Fernando, Jimmy, and Steve die in a terrible car wreck on the way to the wedding. It'd be horrible.
Yeah.
This was Fuller House at its most Fuller House-ness. What can one say? It was fun. As a man who went to go see Cats willingly with his daughter, I enjoy a good Broadway musical. What can one say?
Cats. Oh.
Are you a jellicle cat, Pat?
Am I what?
A jellicle cat. Do you do jellicle
I don't even
things?
know what that reference is.
It's from Cats, goddammit.
Why would I know that?
Tell me about A Modest Proposal. What were your thoughts?
So we were very, there was one episode really relegated to the dance and stuff like that, and musical number, which is less than we've seen from other seasons. So this one broke it out in grand fashion. It looked like an Old Navy commercial at first. One of the good Old Navy commercials from like the late 90s.
Sure.
And like all of a sudden, like you're not thinking it's real, because all of a sudden John Stamos shows up, Dave Coulier shows up, and you're like, how did they get here? What is this about? And then they throw you the big left hook at the end, where it's not a dream sequence, it's not anything. This is how Steve is going to propose.
Right.
Which I loved.
Yep. All right. So that is Fuller House. I thought it was a solid season. It was as entertaining as the previous seasons. This never got cringy. I think that's one thing I wanted to bring up. In other seasons, some of it was a little hard to get through at times, especially early on. There were definitely times where I had to fast forward because it was too cringy for me. I watched a lot of this over the weekend that I was away at Disney, and yeah, I just blasted right through it. I didn't find any of it really offensive. I found most of it pretty funny. I thought, like, it's funny that they're ending it with season 5 because I feel like they found such good chemistry with each other. I think adding characters to it actually helped because none of the other characters feel overexposed. So, like, Max doesn't get a lot this season, but we've got plenty of Max from previous seasons, and we had just the right amount of Max this season. There's nothing interesting about Jackson, so what little they gave him was plenty. Ramona was responsible for some of the more cringy moments in previous seasons. Not a whole lot here that really irked me. And then the rest of it was, pretty solid. So overall, I would say this was a B plus A season. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's been one of the stronger seasons of the show. I definitely think it was better than what we saw from last year's season. I would give it like a high B plus. And again, to be fair, we're only halfway through. It's
true. Any predictions for how it goes in part 2 of season 5?
I don't know. I'm curious how they're gonna tie this one up in a nice, neat bow. I would laugh if we got like more Growing Pains cast members because we already had the late Alan Thicke. We had Kirk. Who knows? Maybe Jeremy Miller will show up.
Isn't he in prison?
No, Jeremy Miller is not in prison.
I feel like he should be in prison.
I think you're thinking of Tracy Gold, who had a couple of DUIs, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
But I think she's out and okay. Let me check real quick. Arrest, DUI, blah, blah, blah. $50,000 bond. Yeah, she's fine.
Good for them. All right. We're not totally sure when the second half of season 5 is coming.
Sometime in 2020.
Sometime in 2020. Maybe over the summer. In seasons past, these have debuted. Let's see for a second. They tend to be mostly around December, but we have gotten some. The original first season, the first 13 episodes debuted in February of 2016. The second was December of that same year. Season 3, which was 18 episodes, which was split, part 1 and part 2, were September and December, so those were released in pretty short order. 13 episodes for season 4, and that was December, a year ago. They seem to release, when they break these apart, they seem to release them in pretty fast fashion. So my thought here is that we'll probably get this one in either February or March. That's my guess.
Yeah, I was thinking March, April time.
So we shall see. You never can tell with Netflix. Netflix just goes crazy with these release schedules. They are as unpredictable as anything else.
So, Mark, let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
You've had some reboots and some things.
Yes, sir.
What's a show that hasn't gotten a reboot or a reimagining that you really want to see brought back to the forefront?
Some of the action shows from my youth I would like to see modernized and have a are we limiting this to only sitcoms, or can it be any show?
Let's go with any show, Mark.
I would love to see a modern version of Knight Rider and A-Team. I
really?
actually love
that. Both of those didn't spectacularly fail already? That doesn't count. We've already had those, Mark. Come on. Something that hasn't been done.
Never been done. All right. Oh, gosh. What did I watch back in the day? I'm going to have to... Give me a minute here. Oh, you know what would be fun, especially now? Family Ties.
Okay.
Think about, like, how much anger there is towards our current president, and, we had the 99 percenters, 1 percenters issue, Occupy Wall Street not that long ago. Could you just imagine, like, a modern Family Ties, and the Alex P. Keaton character is the guy with a MAGA hat, and his whole family is made up of, left-wingers? Come on, Pat.
See, that would appeal to me. I would enjoy that.
Sure.
I think that's a heck of an idea. I'm surprised that it's never been done. Playing off of that a little bit, what about like a Perfect Strangers?
Yes,
With everything we have now about immigration.
absolutely. And given the amount of ex-Soviet republics that have become their own countries, and no one knows what the hell they are or who they are, you could absolutely choose one of them. It's my cousin from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, where Balky's not from Mypos, which is, to my understanding, Greek, but maybe more like he's from Uzbekistan or somewhere like that. And,
right, he's from one of the stands, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's one that's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to say it out loud because I don't think it could be ever as good as the original. But
none of them can, but let's go with it.
Night Court.
No, it cannot be as good as the original for one reason.
No Harry Anderson?
No John Larroquette.
You could find another John Larroquette out there.
No, 100%, absolutely not.
You don't think so?
No. He was magic as Dan on that show.
He really was, but I don't feel like... I don't know. I feel like you'll never find another Harry Anderson.
I feel like there's guys who could play that part. I feel like anybody you throw in the John Larroquette role, they're not going to get it. They're either going to make him, like, very good looking, like where like Rob Lowe would play him, or, somebody who maybe gets the part, but just they don't have the charisma that John did as the character of Dan Fielding. I feel like he's the hard ingredient to like not replicate.
We already have the reboot of Family Matters. It's called Blackish. Let's see.
Have you? Okay. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the Family Ties one was really good. Damn. I don't know that we're going to top that answer. That was give me that now.
Well, we'll do a separate meeting, you and I, and we'll put together a pitch for some streaming network because I don't think we can get that on regular broadcast television. But hey, Hulu will buy anything. Have you seen the garbage they're putting out?
I have not, believe it or not.
Every once in a while, I check the Wikipedia pages for upcoming original programming on these streaming sites. Hulu is just nonsense. Oy.
The only thing I know they have is like The Handmaid's Tale.
They have a show from England, from I think it's the BBC or whatever, Harlots, which is really good. But again, they bought that show from another network. As far as like original programming, I don't think I've watched anything unless it was a Marvel thing.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
BJ and the Bear.
Never saw it as a kid.
Really?
Really?
Man traveling the country in a pickup truck with a monkey?
No, but speaking of which, what about She's the Sheriff?
Is that the Suzanne Summers one?
That is.
Oh, God. Wasn't that voted like the worst show ever made?
I know! And let's remake it! But, let's go even... Who was the modern Suzanne Summers? So, blonde, perky, seemingly full of, helium and stupidity. Who...
I don't think they allow that anymore.
No, there's gotta be some woman actress out there that is like an archetype of the Suzanne Summers type that other like Hollywood hates because she gets who would actually I don't think she'll take a TV role because she's too much of a hit actress right now. But I think she could take the role and actually do something fun with it because she's not really that kind of person. She's a hell of an actress. Margot Robbie. Can you imagine Margot Robbie as doing the Suzanne Summers role in She's the Sheriff? Be great. And she's just surrounded by old toxic male actors. Just, really just blow the budget on the cast here. Just surround her with Charlie Sheen and what's his face from 30 Rock? Alex Baldwin. What other, like, seemingly over-the-top, angry, toxic... get Mel Gibson in there. Why not? Just have him yelling through voicemail.
I think some things are better left... some things are better left undone. Because, one, you can't... I don't think this is a reworkable premise. And two, I think it would never, if we intentionally tried to make it bad, to the point where it was so bad it's enjoyable, we'd never be able to do it as well as the original did. Unintentionally.
Fair enough. We've already got a new Roseanne reboot, and then...
that's worked out swimmingly, hasn't it?
And then the Valerie version of that, or rather the Hogan family version of said reboot.
Yeah, I would almost rather watch a Hogan family reboot than that. And not the good Hogan family years with Jason Bateman, but like the ones where they focused on Mark and Willie.
They tried a continuation of Murphy Brown. It didn't fly.
I was going to say, did they ever even launch that? But apparently they did, and I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, they tried. They were like, look, politics stink right now. Our president's horrible. And we all went, meh. Except for my dad. I think my dad watched it. But then he was a big fan of the original Murphy Brown. Let's see. You know what my wife would like? My wife would like a reboot of Friends.
You can't recreate that.
Just
Once
six
Around the Block wasn't enough for that.
Just 6 people, 6 moderately funny comics, just sitting around in a coffee house talking about modern day
funny, which is immediately inaccurate.
6 working comedians, maybe. No Friends. All right.
No, I would love to just hit that show if it was a person on the back of the head with a shovel and just leave it buried somewhere in Nevada.
All right.
I think we hit with Family Ties though. I think this is something we can work on.
All right. That's our job. We need to come up with a modern pitch for Family Ties. I'm going to try one more at you, and then I think we're done with this bit, and we can get our plugs. How about a modern reboot of Barney Miller?
Here's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Barney Miller, at the time even, had one of the most ethnically diverse casts anywhere. Because you had Barney, you had Fish, who was a Jewish guy, you had Woj, who was a Polish guy, you had a Japanese guy, you had a black... Like, they had a very diverse cast.
Sure.
And it was single camera, it was in the precinct house.
Right.
I don't know how it would work now, believe it or not. I think they would really try to, like, ramp it up where, like, oh, let's have one of the cops be transgender and all, and then now we're not getting what made Barney Miller good.
I used to love that theme song.
They still air reruns on Channel 11. Well, Channel 11 here in New York. I don't know what it is in Florida, but whatever your local CW affiliate is.
Okay.
On Saturday and Sunday afternoons,
Really?
they air Barney Miller reruns.
I might have to check that out. You know what's currently on, if you have Spectrum Cable, they didn't do a reboot, they did a continuation of it. Yeah, and I've actually watched an episode of that. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Helen Hunt might be, though.
Look, you either liked Mad About You when it came out, or you didn't. And if you liked it, it's more of the same. It's more of the same.
I liked Paul Reiser.
Sure.
But I liked Paul Reiser because of My Two Dads.
Ah, what a show that was. The Odd Couple with an adopted daughter. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was The Odd Couple meets 3 Men and a Baby.
Yep.
Which was, at the time, they were trying to make shows based around 3 Men and a Baby. Hence, our show today, Full House, was also very much inspired by 3 Men and a Baby.
What a runaway hit that was.
Yeah. Well, you had Magnum, who was like the guy at the time. Ted Danson was on the most popular TV show at the time. And Steve Guttenberg from Police Academy to play the non-threatening, non-good-looking one.
Right. It was one of those where, occasionally Hollywood would just greenlight something for the cheap, And like, yeah, I'm sure it'll do fine. And then it was like this monster runaway hit. They're like, how did that happen? You never know. Sorry, I cut
But
you
then,
off there.
meanwhile, Listen to Me, starring Kirk Cameron and Roy Scheider, not a hit.
No, not at all. All right.
Oh, like I say, my last pitch.
Yes.
Head of the Class.
Wasn't that basically just a retold Welcome Back, Kotter?
No, it was different. It was about the honors kids, the future leaders of the country.
I guess.
And their teacher was not, Cotter coming back to his old neighborhood or whatever. It was a struggling actor who couldn't find work, thus he comes in as a long-term substitute.
You're right, okay. It was definitely a different premise.
And then it got better in the last year because they got Billy Connolly and did away with Howard Hessman.
Oh! That's what they should remake.
WKRP.
Yes!
But radio's dead.
No, you can do that with a satellite station.
Remember they tried WKRP?
Did they?
In like the early 90s, I want to say, with Tawny Kitaen.
No, I don't remember this at all.
I think it was called the new WKRP, and it ran 2 years. A lot of the old cast did like guest spots. I think they brought back Mr. Carlson and Herb, and then I think they were all like new characters and DJs in the show, and I'm pretty sure one of them was Tawny Kitaen.
Well, it doesn't meet the initial premise of what haven't they remade before, which is now starting to depress me because they've remade everything except for Family Ties.
Yeah, that's and in today's climate, like that would stick out so well.
It really would. Well, to the unpaid intern who steals ideas from my podcast, you know what you have to do. Speaking of stealing ideas for a podcast, Pat, what are you up to these days? I know that you and I are supposed to do our third chapter of our boxing program. We're going to focus on Joe Louis Friday night, in theory, whenever it is you get home. And then Saturday.
We're still good for that.
Yes. And Saturday is ICW New York, no holds barred. If you can get home in time, we'll do coverage of it.
I'm trying.
My offer still stands, by the way. I can't share that offer with you because we're recording now, but my offer still stands. Just want you to know that.
I don't even know what that offer is, but
go back through the chat. It's in there. All right. Anything else you got on the agenda?
Like I said, apparently at some point Ronnie Adams will be organizing a large game of Dungeons and Dragons that I will take part in. Other than that, I believe I'm recording a source material with Jesse Starcher where we will be going over The Witcher.
Yes.
That should be coming soon.
Yep.
And other than that, no.
All right. Well, you'll also be on a week from today, the 8th of January at night, for our 80s Kiss show that you pitched last year. Yes, you will.
Sorry, that show has been on the tentative schedule since I want to say last Thanksgiving.
I was going to say 2018. Maybe. Yeah, 2018, because I said, well, okay, we'll do it the following year. So, yes. We're supposed to do that on January 8th, so hope that doesn't conflict with your work schedule. So hopefully we'll have you on for that. If not, fuck it, we're doing it anyway, because I can't keep putting that show off. Aside from that...
we're going to do that to coincide with the end of the road tour, and then... Nope, I'm good for that day.
Perfect. We've also got a source material for Fight Club 2. We've got an on trial tomorrow night, in theory, for the Fight Club movie. The week of the 6th, we've got Doomsday Clock on source material. Myself and Alexis Hayner are going to talk one of my favorite shows of 2019, Watchmen on HBO, which, it was perfect. Don't do another season. Don't do anything more with this. It was perfect just the way it was. Leave it alone. And that's it for that week. We'll have some boxing coverage maybe on January 11th, so go ahead and check that out. All right, for Pat Mullin, I greatly appreciate your time here. This has been our coverage of Fuller House Season 5, Part 1. We'll be back for Part 2 as soon as that drops, hopefully. Until then, be well, be safe, and behave.